one of our, I would say, quarterly triad meetings that we'll be doing today. The speaker is going to be wonderful, and I'm going to turn the mic, though, right away over to Joe Canavan, Director of Triad.
Thank you, Roberta, and I want to thank your staff here for a wonderful job they do putting out this breakfast. Again, my name is Joseph Canavan. I work for Norfolk County Sheriff Michael Bellotti, and I am the director of the Sheriff's Triad program, which is seniors, law enforcement, working together to help seniors, protect seniors, offer some safety programs. As you know, we offer a number of programs through the Triad. We have the Are You OK, which is a telephone reassurance program. We have the Files of Life, which I have here, which is some medical information cards for everybody. You fill these out, you put one in your refrigerator. This one here is in person for your purse or your wallet. These will be here. I'll leave some with Roberta. These are out through the Sheriff supplies these throughout Norfolk County. We also have the Yellow Dot program, which is almost like a file of life for your car. And anyone interested in that, I will be around after the speaker to either sign you up for that or give you more information. We have a great partnership here in Medfield with Chief Meany. He is the Triad chairperson for the town of Medfield. We also offer, through the Triad program, a speakers bureau. And I think in the past we've had some pretty interesting speakers. We've had, I think the Postal Service was here a while back. But today we have, his name is John O'Connor. He's a 22-year retired Secret Service agent, and today he's going to do a presentation on identity theft. So I'm going to let John introduce himself. So without further ado, John O'Connor.
Thanks, Joe. I want to thank Sheriff Bellotti for inviting for me to speak to you here today. A little bit about myself. I spent 22.5 years with the Secret Service. I'm now a practicing attorney in Braintree. Everybody thinks the Secret Service just protects the president and lets people over the fence at the White House. But the Secret Service was actually formed in 1865 by President Lincoln to suppress counterfeit currency at the end of the Civil War. At the time, there was no federal law enforcement agency in existence, so the Secret Service was formed, and it was the only federal law enforcement agency until the turn of the century. Secret Service got protection responsibilities in 1901 after President McKinley was assassinated. And its protective responsibilities and criminal investigations take about 50% each of their time. I protected President Nixon through President Clinton, and the other half of my time I spent doing criminal investigations in financial crimes and identity theft. I investigated counterfeiting, check forgery, bond forgery, bank fraud, and my last 5 years on the job, I was with the New England Bank Fraud Task Force, detailed at the FBI, investigating the savings and loan fraud. All right. What I'm going to talk to you today about is financial crimes and identity theft. And they're similar, but they're different. First, I want to talk about financial crimes. We've become a cashless society. No one carries cash anymore. My daughter hit me up the other day for 20 bucks, which I'll never see again, because she doesn't carry cash. She lives in South Boston, works in Boston. She takes the T into Boston. She pays for her T-Pass with a credit card. She takes cabs or Ubers and stuff around the city. She pays those with credit cards. So right now, the credit card is what everybody wants to use. When you go out to a restaurant, very few people carry cash or pay with a check or anything in a restaurant. You carry a credit card. What happens to that credit card when you give it to the waiter? Do you know? You assume that the waiter went to the point-of-sale terminal, ran your card, came back with a check, have a nice day, give them a tip, and off they go. What there is in existence right now is a thing called a skimmer, and it looks something like that, right? It's about the size of a pager, the old pagers. And what they do is they can hold it in the palm of their hand, they can keep it in their jacket, they can keep it anywhere. They run your card through there, and it reads the magnetic stripe on the back of your card. On that magnetic stripe is your name, your credit card number, the expiration date, the little 3 or 4 digit code, and they can take that information, go to a computer, and download it off to a computer, and have everything that they need to start charging on your card. So you guys have credit limits on your card, and the banks are always increasing your credit limit, whether you want to or not. So you might only use a small portion of your credit limit, but the thief is looking at the entire credit limit. They're going to, if they get your card or they get the information on your card, they're going to run your credit card until it doesn't work anymore. And then they'll throw it away, and then they'll use the next one. All right. So you want to be aware of what you're carrying as a credit card with you. You want to know what happens to your card. You want to review your credit card statements at least monthly, if not more than that. If you can get online and review your card statements, you should do that. I tell the story, I can't buy my wife a Christmas present because she checks our cards every single day. So she'll come back and said, oh, you were at Long's. And it's like, Merry Christmas. I can't do it. That may be a little bit overboard, but that's what you should be doing when you're looking at your credit card statement. You should look at your statement and not only say, well, yeah, I was at that pizza shop, but I'd spent that amount of money, or I bought that and I spent it for that price. We had an investigation of, it was actually a pizza shop where one of the waitresses was adding zeros to your tip. You had $45 charge, $5 tip. You come back, instead of getting a $50 bill at the end of the month, you had a $90 bill, a $95 bill. And you say, well, I don't remember what I spent there. And she was counting on that. She was eventually caught. But if you're not looking at your card, you say, well, yeah, I was at that restaurant, I just don't remember. You should call up and challenge that if you don't remember. So you want to look at those cards. And you want to keep track of what cards you carry. You shouldn't carry every credit card known to mankind, right? My wife carries her 60-pound pocketbook. In her pocketbook is every credit card in existence, right? Why do you need to do that? I mean, I know she likes to shop and she can go through the mall and, yeah, I've got my Lord & Taylor's card or whatever, so she has her, you know, but you really shouldn't be doing that. You really should only carry the minimum amount of cards that you can carry or need to carry. If that's one, it's one. You should also copy the cards, front and back. So if the card's lost or stolen, you know who to call. You know what your number is. The last thing you want to do is, like, you know, in my wife's case, yeah, I had 100 cards in my wallet. What were the numbers? What were the cards? Who do I call? I could spend the next month trying to call and figure out and stop that card. The credit card companies have a policy with regard to what you're responsible for. If you notify them before any fraud occurs on a lost or stolen or compromised card, you don't owe them anything. If you let them know within 2 days and fraud's occurred, you can owe them up to $50. From 3 to 60 days, $500. And after 60 days, whatever was charged in the card. So if you had a $20,000 limit on a card, you could be responsible for up to $20,000. So that what they're requiring for you to do is give them notice if your card's lost or stolen. We investigated a case, we call it the racquetball case. So you know how old it was. No one really plays racquetball that much anymore. But it was back when it was popular. These thieves joined the racquetball club with false identification, and instead of playing racquetball, they went into the locker room, and they'd jimmy open lockers and take a, you know, grab a pant leg, pull it down, take the wallet, and take one card. Put the wallet back, leave the money there. You come back, my pant fell off the hook. You know, when are you going to see that card? You might go days without seeing that card. Before the end of the day, that card had been run up to its limit. And they did it to hundreds and hundreds of people. So you just want to be aware of where my cards are, what cards do I carry. Right now, most hotels don't give out room keys. They give out little cards, right? It's cheaper for them. If you take the room key home, they got to make a new key. With these cards, they're all set. A lot of hotels, that stripe on the back of the room card key also has all the information you use to check in. Your name, address, credit card number, what kind of car you're driving, all that stuff. In a lot of cases, that's what's on there. So when you check out of the hotel, you don't throw that card in the trash. You don't leave it on the counter. Either bring it back to the desk and make sure someone takes it, or you destroy it. Take it home, run it through a magnet, shred it, or whatever. You all should have shredders. Anything that looks like it has any information on it like that, you get rid of.
If they take the information off your credit card, they're taking it off electronically, what do they use to make the charge? Do they do it online? Or?
Well, think of yourself, I'm gonna order a pair of boots from LL Bean. Online. What's your name? What's your card number? Expiration date? What's that little 3-digit code?
They don't put it on another credit card.
No. Well, they do. They can think it's a thing called white plastic or counterfeit cards. They can get the stock for credit cards and make up their own cards. We actually investigated a ring that was doing that. The guy worked at MasterCard, so he had all the blank cards, and they were taking stolen cards and making up their own cards. or they can work in collusion with a merchant or whatever else where there's no one else around, is they make white plastic. It's just a card that has your information on the magnetic stripe in the back. The computer can load it on the magnetic stripe, and then they can go to town. And they're just going to run up the cards. They'll go to Best Buy and buy TVs. Until that card is rejected, they're going to spend everything that's on that card. And so you need to be aware of my cards lost or stolen. They do it at restaurants. They do it at gas stations. There was just a thing. Yes, sir.
Can they get the 3-digit code as well?
Yes. Yes. Everything's on there. Yes, sir.
Will you get your address, phone number?
No, whatever's on your card, credit card number, expiration date, and that little 3 or 4-digit code, and your name. So they have everything they need to make a purchase. So, they can do it online. Oh, I forgot my card, here's all my information. You'd be surprised what merchants will take. I mean, my daughter, I give her my card sometimes. We're going into a restaurant to pick up food. She'll take one of my cards. I give it to her. She'll walk in and come back out with the food. Well, her name's Katie, my name's John. No one even looked at the card. No one looked at the signature in the back. They just took it. So, you could do everything right. A lot of people say instead of signing the back of your card, you should use a Sharpie and write photo ID only. Make the merchant make that next step to say, well, can I see your driver's license? Can you prove who you are to me? But not all merchants do that. They just figure, what the heck? So you want to watch out for that stuff. They just had a thing on TV, a guy was at like a Burger King takeout window, and people were, if they use a credit card to do the takeout, he'd run the card through the point of sale terminal, and they had him on video. He also had a skimmer set up right next to it. Point of sale terminal, skimmer, back to the person, all in one felt swoop. They had no idea that he just got all their information, and you wouldn't think, I have to be careful of my credit card at a Burger King, but they were doing it. Sir, you have a question?
What's this thing that they say the person could be standing behind you or near you and you could read the card out of your wallet?
That's come up a couple of times, and I've asked, and I've been told that that's not possible with a credit card because that picks up a radio frequency, and the magnetic stripe on the back of the card doesn't transmit a radio frequency. What I'm told, it's more of a marketing scam to buy these little sleeves to protect your card. In fact, I get some in my car. I can sell you a couple for $5 when we leave. They can read your cell phone. As long as your cell phone's on, they can find your cell phone.
What's all this noise about, like in Europe, their credit cards, they got this little chip in it?
Right. The credit card industry is going to the chip, and it's I don't know, some sort of computer chip that they're going to have a reader that's going to be able to read it. And I understand Walmart is the only store that's doing that right now. But they don't have readers yet. Europe has them, but we don't have them yet. And it's a function of economics. The credit card companies don't want to spend all that money until they're forced to do so, to put that chip in there. Okay?
Well, I have to worry about the lifestyle.
No, no. At least I hope not. The next thing I want to talk to you about is ATM fraud. Okay, it's a big thing right now. First thing, you want to be concerned about your personal safety. If you walk into an ATM or you're approaching the ATM vestibule and there's somebody in there and you don't like their looks, leave. Don't go in. If you walk in and there's somebody sitting in a car outside and you don't like what they look like, leave. Don't go in. Call the police department. Don't put yourself at risk for someone robbing you when you go into an ATM machine. But what these guys are doing is after hours, they'll set up one of those skimmers on the ATM machine, right on the face of the machine, right in front of the little slot where you would put in your card. And it looks like it's part of the machine. So when you run your card through that, you've run your card through their skimmer, okay? They also set up cameras in the vestibule to watch what your fingers are doing as far as what your PIN numbers are. They'll come back before the bank opens in the morning. They'll take all their equipment out. The bank doesn't know anything about it. And now anyone who's been in there and used whatever card they've used, they've captured the card and they've captured the PIN number, okay? They also do a thing called cash stuffing or card stuffing. They'll jam the part that puts your money out, so the money can't come out. Or they'll jam the card coming back out. So you go in, you put your card in, you take out your $60, the money doesn't come out. Well, I'm going to give that bank a call in the morning, let them know I didn't get my money. Before you show up the next morning, all the money comes out when they unjam it. Now you're arguing with the bank that you didn't get your money because their records show you took a transaction and the money was dispersed, okay? So if you sense there's something wrong with the ATM machine, you want to call right then and there. A lot of them have a phone in the vestibule, or if you're carrying a cell phone, you should make a call and complain right then and there, or call the police, there's something wrong. And they do it in gas stations too, you know, little slots where you can put your card in to get your gas. There was just something on the other day that they were surveilling this guy who was doing it, and what they did is they took his skimmer out and put a camera in, and they had photographs of him coming trying to get his skimmer back, and he was all upset because his skimmer was expensive, but he got locked up. So if you see something different, if you're used to going into an ATM and it looks different than it looked before, think about it. You know, maybe I ought to give the bank a call. Maybe I not ought to use this ATM. Maybe something's going on, all right? It's a huge thing right now.
You can tell by just looking at the slot when you put the card in to see.
No, because they make it look like it's part of the machine, that it's part of that slot that you put your card in. They're very sophisticated the way they do it, but it looks different than, like, I use Citizens. You know, they have the little green light where you put your card in. And you're used to seeing the same thing all the time. If it's different, if something looks different, you should start questioning it. Why is that there? That's thicker than it should be. That wasn't the way it was last week. So, you know, just think about that. That's one of the things that they do. And again, if you're looking at your card, your debit card, you should be looking at your bank statement every day, or as much as you can, and your credit card statement. If you're looking at all that, you can catch it right away and stop it, right? But if it's your debit card, they're going to clean out your account. And now you're going to be waiting and fighting with the bank to get your money back to prove it wasn't you. So you have to think about them taking your money and what you want to do to prevent it. The next thing I want to talk about is check fraud or check counterfeiting. There's a lot of schemes going around, like charities. If you're going to contribute to the charity, we'll save you that postage stamp. Just tape your check to the front door in an envelope. We'll come by and pick it up. We'll send a runner by to pick it up. What have they done? They've prevented the federal crime of mail fraud, because if you mailed it to them and it went through the mails, that's mail fraud. Now it's a federal crime. If they're just stealing your check, well, that's just a local larceny charge. And a lot of these people get off in court all the time. What do they get on your check? If they get your original check with your original signature on it, they have the bank's routing number, they have your account number, and they have your signature, and they have the number of the check that you're using. So what they do is they can change the payee to them. They can make purchases with your check. A lot of places you can call up and they'll take your checking information over the phone to purchase something. I think it's called an ACH transaction. So that's all they need to get going. Forbes magazine in 1995 did the criminals a great service. If you weren't smart enough to know how to counterfeit checks in 1995, Forbes magazine published an article that told you exactly how to do it. It was great. I don't know why they did it, but they did it. And all you need is a computer, a scanner, and a printer. And what they did is they picked, the article talked about a running store, a running shoe store that gave out rebate checks. You buy a pair of shoes, let's pick on Reebok. It wasn't Reebok. But you buy a pair of shoes from Reebok, you get a $5 check back when you put in your little card in a couple of weeks, right? They took that check, they copied it, and they now had the Reebok bank's routing number, account number, the signature of the person who's authorized to sign the check, and the check number. They copied the stock, and then they raised the amount. Instead of $5, it was $1,500, it was $1,200. Now think about that account, $5 to 1 million people all over the place. How much money was in that account? It took the bank a while to realize, or their shoes company a while to realize, they were getting nailed. And so that's how easy it is to do it. My law firm, my old law firm, I'm also a real estate attorney, an LLR attorney, so I do a lot of real estate transactions. I'm sending out a wire to pay off somebody's loan. And I'm in the process of doing that, and I get an email from a bank that I do business with that I was expecting documents from, right? The email had a link, which normally is there. I clicked on the link, and nothing happened. It's like, oh, God. Called my IT company. What happened? They got on my computer and they said, "You have a real problem." The malware that they put on to infect my machine enabled the person to see every keystroke I was making. It was like they were sitting behind my shoulder watching me type on my keyboard. Within 5 minutes, they had made they had initiated wire transactions to the Bank of China, 3 of them, totaling almost $1 million, three $300,000 wires. The only thing that saved us is we had a security system in place that my IT company wouldn't let me download anything to my computer. As much of as a pain it was, I would have to call them to download whatever I needed to download. Because of that, they couldn't take over my computer and get to my server, and we had a system set up that I would initiate the wire, but somebody else in my office had to release it. So that's what stopped me from losing $900,000. And it happened in 5 minutes. So you want to be sure, if this is a little part of my topic, I'm a little off, but if you get an email from somebody and you don't know who that person is, don't open it. Just delete it. If it's that important, they'll find another way of getting a hold of you. If you get an email from a friend of yours and you open it up and there's a link, and I'm sure you've all seen it, don't open that link. Because what that means is your friend's email's been hacked, and that's something bad waiting to happen to your computer. Okay? Also happened to me. We sent out part of real estate transactions, the bank wants us to pay your property taxes if they're due within like 30 days of the closing. So we sent out a check to a local collector's office for the property taxes. 1 week later, on a Monday morning, my office manager was checking our checking account, and there were checks totaling almost $10,000 for checks we hadn't issued yet that were being cashed at the bank we do business with. We immediately called the bank. I immediately called their security department, and I also contacted my friends at the service, and they investigated it. And what had happened is someone in the collector's office was copying these checks when they were coming in, sending them to some counterfeiters in Connecticut who were making new checks. And then they were hiring people, drug addicts or whatever, they'd pay them a little fee to go to this bank and cash the check. And the bank's policy was if you didn't have an account at the bank, all they needed was your driver's license and your fingerprint, and they would cash any denomination check, which is foolish, but they did it. So we were able to stop it, get our money back right away, but they hit a ton of people, a ton of other attorneys, other people who were putting their money in to pay their property taxes that month through counterfeit checks. All right? So you got to be looking at your checking account all the time. I check it every single morning when I get in. I open up my bank account and look. Did I write those checks? Is that my right balance? Is there anything unusual? If there is, you better get there pretty quick. A lot of attorneys went like 30 days before they get their money back. And it's not their money, it's their customers' money. So you got to be aware of that. All right, identity theft. Identity theft is defined as the theft or misuse of personal or financial identifiers in order to gain something of value and or to facilitate other criminal activity. In financial crimes, they're taking what you have, what's in your bank account, what's your credit limit on your credit card, what you currently have. Identity theft is using your good credit to open up credit in your name to allow the thief to get more money, right? So they can open up bank accounts, credit card accounts, they can purchase cars. We had a case where a guy, I can tell you how long ago, he got a fictitious credit card with a $25,000 limit and brought a brand new Lincoln Continental. So it's been a long time since that happened. But he took off with the Continental. By the time the car company realized that it was no good, they called us and said, we just get hit for $25,000, and the guy took off with the car. And we don't know where he is. He gave all kinds of false IDs and everything. What he did, though, was he wanted a sunroof in the car, and he actually called them back up and asked them if they could put the sunroof in. When he came back to put the sunroof in, they had called us, we locked them up. But they can do a lot of stuff with your identity. They can, they only need a few identifiers to do that. There used to be a scam back when Massachusetts driver's licenses were your social security number. You'd get an old junk box with false IDs on the expressway at 5:30 in the afternoon. You'd look for a really nice car, hopefully it had MD plates on it, and you'd rear end them. Nice little fender bender. You would get out, they would get out, transfer information, and the thief now had the doctor's name, address, date of birth, and social security number. And off he went. I'm told right now, one of the biggest areas that your identity is being stolen from is medical records. That a lot of hospitals' computer systems are being compromised, and they're able to go in and hack into those computers and get your medical records. They actually get medical records in your name. They'll get whatever, wheelchairs, whatever, and sell them on the market, open market. Sometimes they'll even get treatment in your name. So you just, when you get that statement in from your medical provider or from Medicare, which also has your Social Security number on it, which is crazy, but it does, you want to look it over. Did I get those services? And if that happens, Joe is going to pass out a sheet of paper of what you can do, who to call to take care of stopping that identity theft. I'm just going to go into different types of ways that they get your identity. Everybody has shredders in their house? You should. You should shred everything. Because they do what's called dumpster diving. They'll go through your trash. They'll go to department stores, malls, wherever they can go, big office buildings, and they'll actually jump into the dumpster and go through the trash. They'll go to landfills and look through the trash to see what they can find. And you'd be surprised what they come back with. We actually did an investigation in which someone, and I can't say what company it was, but it was a telephone company who had thrown out their operating manual in a dumpster. And the thieves had gotten the operating manual and started their own phone company out of their house. When we locked them up, they had wires going into their house. All their friends had accounts. They were able to operate a phone system from what they found in the trash. And we told the telephone company, we gave them back their manual. They couldn't believe it. It was like top secret. But that's what went out in the trash. You get in the mail, a lot of times credit card companies, your legitimate card, will send you these checks to consolidate your balances. Use these 4 checks that we just sent you to transfer other debt onto your current credit card. Pay off that other card, pay off a student loan, do whatever you need to do on that card. People say, well, I don't want the checks, they throw them away. Those are gold. People take that out of your trash, they just sign it and off they go. They can transfer whatever they want to whoever they want. You should be shredding it. You should think about everything I throw out in my trash, how can it hurt me? What am I throwing out? You should shred everything but the newspaper going out of your house, really, or burn it. Again, stealing wallets and purses and whatever. My wife, we went to a wedding a couple weeks ago. The reception was at a friend's house, but she takes her pocketbook out of the car with her wallet in it, walks 100 yards to the table, puts her pocketbook down, doesn't look at it or touch it for the whole remainder of the evening. When we leave, she picks it up and goes back to the car. Why? Why did she need to take her pocketbook? What was so important in her pocketbook that she jeopardized herself that someone could have lifted her wallet out of there and taken her cards? What I'm looking at is she forget it, not have to drive back from Boston and go pick up her pocketbook. But you should only be carrying or taking things that you really need, and do you really need to take a pocketbook or something, a backpack, and leave it someplace if you don't really? Leave it in your car, leave it at home. There's a thing called shoulder surfing or eavesdropping. I'm sure you've all been there. Someone's on a cell phone, they're obnoxious, they're sitting next to you, talking on their cell phone. There's cases, and it's usually like these internet cafes or Starbucks or something like that. Someone's on the phone ordering stuff over the phone, using their credit card information. You don't know who's sitting next to you. You don't know who's sitting down, writing down the numbers that you just gave over the phone to order something. People do that. They sit there, there's hackers that are in internet cafes trying to find weaknesses in your computer system, try to take what they can from you. So if you're on the phone, just make sure you're not broadcasting information. Okay, we talked about victims' mail. This year was the 20th anniversary of the murder of a woman called Susan Taraskowitz. She was a baggage handler for Northwest Airlines at Logan Airport. They found her killed. We were investigating the theft of credit cards coming in from Minneapolis. The bulk credit cards would be shipped from Minneapolis to Boston. They would go to the mail complex and be mailed out to everybody. They were getting in the middle. They were taking the bulk mail shipments, taking the credit cards, selling them, stealing them, charging on them. If you do for a new credit card, and most credit card companies send you your new card like a month before the other one expires, If you don't get your card, you should be calling that credit card company. Where's my card? I didn't get it yet. And if they said they sent it, tell them to cancel your account, all right? Because someone could steal that card out of the mail. Even when you get it in the mail, it's no disguise that that's a credit card in that envelope. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Likewise with your checks, you order new checks. When did I order them? How come I didn't get them yet? I mean, all those checks come in those little boxes. Everybody knows what they are. If they're stolen out of your mail, someone has all your check stock, and they're ready to go. So you want to just keep track of when you expect deliveries of stuff. And they use it for bank loans, car loans, credit card applications, cash gift cards. You can go into CVS now with a credit card and buy another credit card, you know, with all different kinds of limits. I can, you know, gift cards. You want to buy someone like a MasterCard that has a $100 limit on it. You can use a credit card to do that. So not only do they have your credit information, they can now buy other credit off of your credit card. Right now, most of us have landlines or home phones. And it seems that anyone under like 40 years old doesn't have them. They all only have cell phones, right? So if you grab the white pages, you have a 50-50 chance that anyone in that white pages is older. So now I have my database to start making phone calls. And if I go to pick a voter registration office, you can go into the voter registration office and what they call it the nosy book. You can buy the nosy book for $15 or whatever and know everybody's in town, his occupation, age, where they live, and who lives with them. You put the two of those things together, now you have your database to start making fraudulent calls. And I'm sure you've all gotten these calls at dinner time from someone trying to solicit you for whatever it is, okay? You should all have caller ID. If you don't know who's on the phone, don't pick it up. Just let it ring. If you accidentally pick it up and you get that dead silence for a second, hang it up. If they start talking right away, they were rude to call you in the first place. If you don't know what it is, hang up on them. I had a client out in Western Massachusetts. She was older. She did a refinance and she was going to get her money back in a wire. So I said, well, I need a copy of a voided check from you. So, well, I'm going to have to call my daughter because I don't have any checks, I don't have any credit cards, and it's my own choice. Because I'm being solicited so many times, I just tell the solicitor, I don't have any checks, I don't have any credit cards, and they hang up on her. They don't want to talk to her because they can't scam her. Okay. They have these things called boiler rooms. They're rooms sometimes as big as this with all little cubicles, and all these telemarketers, let's call them, are on a phone with a list of phone numbers and a script as to what to say. You know, I'm sure you happen. Hi, how you doing? I'm well, thank you. How are you? Oh, thanks for asking. I want to rip the guy's throat out when they say that because you know they're reading off of a script. And they're very good at what they do. They're very good at figuring out who they got on the other end of the phone and preying on their sympathies, greed, fear, or whatever. They have their own little way of working you. And they're trying to keep you on the phone and they're trying to work you. We had this case of a woman in Milton. She was 89 years old. She got a call, hi, I'm from the FBI. We're recruiting you as an informant. I mean, you would think, who would ever fall for that? She was by herself. She was lonely. She was intimidated by this agent, supposed agent, talking to her on the phone. They kept calling her. They kept just working her week after week, day after day. They told her that she was an informant and they were going to activate her and they had to relocate her to the Midwest and they had to set up a bank account for her to use in the Midwest. She gave them $35,000. Right? By the time the callers were coming from Canada. Right now you can buy a service that you can trick the person who's either on the caller ID or it shows up on your TV set as to where your call is coming from. I mean, I've heard a lot now, people are getting calls and they look on the screen, it's their own number that's coming up. Just because it's a 781 area code doesn't mean the person's calling from this area. They could be calling from Middle Europe. They could be from anywhere. I get a call the other day, they left a voicemail message on my phone. This is a special agent so-and-so from the Department of Treasury Division of the IRS. You have a problem. We've audited your return, you're short, and you have until 4 o'clock this afternoon to call me back or we're reporting this to the U.S. Attorney's Office for prosecution, okay? I tried calling the guy back because I wanted to have a good time giving them a hard time. But when I did call back, it was a number that routed through California that was coming from India. And he was just looking for someone to give him either credit card information, send him a wire transfer, something off their checking account, and it was, you know, he's on to his next call. But that happens to people. People do that. They're looking for you to react. They're looking for you not to think. They're playing on your sympathies. I'll go over a couple of schemes now. A relative in financial or legal crisis. You get a phone call. Hi, Grandma. This is, you know, and Grandma's like, is this Jimmy? Yeah. I'm out in California with my friends. One of them we didn't even know was carrying drugs. The police locked us up. If you don't send me money right now, they're going to lock me up, and my life is going to be ruined. I'll have a criminal record. And they want you to, you know, don't hang up. Do this right now. I'll stay on the phone while you go get the information. Right? That happens a ton to people. What do? You hang up the phone. You call a relative. Where's Jimmy? He's still sleeping in his dorm room. He's never been to California, right? They know what they're doing, so you want to think before you act. You get a phone call. Hi, this is NSTAR. You didn't pay your bill 4 o'clock this afternoon, the lights are going out, unless you pay us this minute, okay? NSTAR's not going to do that. You're going to get a little pink slip. They're going to give you all kinds of time to pay NSTAR. What do? You hang up and you call NSTAR. They won't know what you're talking about. Telemarketing schemes, fraud protection. A lot of people on their computers, they get either a notice on their computer or a notice over the phone. Your computer's been compromised. We sell a system. We can help clear up your computer. We can speed up. It's slow right now. We can speed it up. Cost you $150. We'll fix your computer. Your virus is going to destroy your computer. People let them into their machine. They let them on their machine, right? The next thing they know, they've captured their machine, and now they want like $1,000 to release the machine, and you got to do it right away, okay? A big thing right now, it was just on 60 Minutes about 3 weeks ago, is they're filing fraudulent tax returns in your name. They're able to obtain your identifiers, date of birth and social security number and home address from a variety of sources, and they're filing tax returns in your name. So by April 10th or whatever, they've filed. They've already got their refund check. You go to file, the IRS calls you up. You've already filed. We won't accept your tax return. You then have to prove to the IRS that it wasn't you who filed the earlier return. They had a line on TV showing that it was down in Florida. It had to be 200 yards long of people waiting outside an IRS office to get in to protest the fact that someone had already filed a tax return for them. And what I've told is they'll hold up your genuine return, any refund, until they can clear up the situation. And who wants the IRS looking at them more than they look at you now already? All right? There's not a lot you can do about that. The IRS indicated that by 2016, they're estimating a $5.2 billion loss from this scheme alone. The person they had in Florida worked for a company like H&R Block and did thousands and thousands of fraudulent returns. And it happens that quickly. Home improvement scams. You know, your chimney needs to be cleaned. Most chimney cleaners don't call you. You have to call them. So for the most part, it's just some scam to get in and start working on your house. You get a guy looking at your chimney, or I can do your gutters too. Let's go take a look at your gutters. While you're outside looking at your gutters, his partner's inside robbing your house. So that all comes from picking up your phone. Free credit report scores. You're entitled to a free credit report from one of the 3 bureaus, and Joe is going to hand out their numbers, free every year. If you go to some of these credit card scores scams, they will ask you for, well, I need your social security number and your date of birth to run your credit card, to run your credit score, right? You just provided them with everything that they need to now, you know, apply for credit in your name. I'm Irish. I don't win anything. If I went to a golf tournament and the guy next to me bought 1 ticket and I bought the whole rest of them, he'll win, I won't. You didn't win the Irish sweepstakes, right? No one in Florida has some vacation home that you just won, right? No Nigerian king is leaving you $200 million and all he needs is your bank account information. It just doesn't happen, right? Think about it. How many times does someone give you something for free? Never, right? So don't fall for these schemes. I was at a home inspection the other day with one of my clients, and This elderly woman was selling her house, and she had one of those answer machines that when you call, you can hear what the person's saying on the answer machine. And sure enough, it was a scammer. And I'm sitting there, I couldn't believe it. Hi, you just won a new car and $20,000. I'm sure you don't remember you entered into the sweepstakes, but if you've been to the bank, you've been to the pharmacy, you've been to the grocery store, you've been automatically entered. Huh? Right? And here's my number, call me back. You only have until 4 o'clock this afternoon to claim your prize. You know, you wish you could drive down or figure out where that guy was and lock him up right then and there. But that's what's out there. I'm sure you've all gotten these calls. Joe and I have given these lectures for a couple of months now, and every single place we've been, someone has been a victim of one of these calls. What do you do if your identity's been compromised? If you shopped at Shaw's, you bought something at Home Depot, you bought something at TJ Maxx, and now you know that there's a 90% likelihood that they've gotten your credit card information, right? What do you do? First of all, if you didn't use a store card, you want to call the card company and cancel it and get a new card. Second, you want to call the Federal Trade Commission. That's the clearinghouse for identity theft. We used to get calls all the time in the field office. I just got a call from a collection agency. I owe $50,000. What do I do? These aren't my charges. And now it is little hell for people trying to clear their credit. Where do I go? How do I do it? Federal Trade Commission is the place to go. They have an 800 number. You can look it up online. But you can find it online. You call them. They will help you walk through how to clear up your credit. You should also call the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. All right? They're the clearinghouses for credit. You want to call them up and say, I think I've been a victim of identity theft. I think my identity's been compromised. I want to put a credit lock on my card. I want to put fraud alert on my identity. It's free and it lasts for 7 years. Okay? From that point on, if you try to buy anything, you're going to be on the phone for a while with someone from a credit company until they're convinced you are who you say you are. All right? So what you do is, I don't want to scare you, but you just have to be aware that these people are out there and they've targeted the elderly. They've targeted the older generation because they feel you're home most of the time and they're the ones that they can intimidate to get this money from. Okay?
I talked with the free credit union, all them to walk with your credit history, only effective for 9 months, so you have to do it every often.
A fraud alert, if you call the 3 credit bureaus and you ask for a fraud alert, it's good for 7 years. Yes?
Yeah, because I had some unknown charges charged to my credit card, and I called them and they said, oh, you can put a lock on like this for 9 months, and then after that you have to call them again to,
You can push the issue. They will do it for 7 years. They don't like to do it for 7 years, but they will do it for 7 years. And it's free. You don't have to pay for it. Yes, sir? My experience is they let you know the day before you would have found out anyways. You're paying for a service that, it's the credit card companies, fraud protection from a credit card company. If your card's lost and stolen, we'll take care of it. Well, if your card's lost and stolen, you let them know within 2 days or before fraud occurs, you don't owe anything. And if fraud does occur, if you're watching your card, I would argue that, yeah, they can try to charge you $50, but they're going to have a hard time collecting it. You don't, especially if you still have your card. If someone compromised your card. I got my card. I don't know where they got it. That's your problem, not my problem.
What about those companies like LifeLock, Trusted ID? Are they any?
It's pretty much the same question. I mean, they do offer a service. It's just been my experience. You find out pretty much the day before you would have found out anyways. They don't really know that someone's compromised your card or gotten your identity until people start charging, right? And by that time, it's usually too late. So that's why it's more incumbent upon you to know where your cards are and what your cards are. And if they're lost or stolen, do something about it right away. It's cheaper in the long run for you.
How about credit companies saying that they monitor your activity very closely, and if something happens, they will notify you right away?
I know for a fact American Express has a program that when your card is charged, they send you a text message or an email right then and there as it's being charged. And, you know, and a lot of times if you're traveling, like if you're traveling overseas or you're in Boston all the time, but I'm going to California for the next week, some credit card companies, if you don't let them know in advance, they won't allow those charges if it's outside your normal area. They'll deny the card. So, you know, if you're traveling overseas, you're traveling in other parts of the country, you know, call Capital One and say, hey, listen, this is me, I'm going to California, just want to let you know. And the other thing, when you come back, call them back and say, I'm back. So that if someone's still using your card that they got out in California, you know, at least you can try to stop it. You should never provide your account information to someone who calls you up, right? Hi, this is, you know, ABC Bank. We're concerned that your checking account's been compromised. Could you please give me your checking account number? No. I'll call you back. What number do you want me to call you? Then you look up the bank number and you call the bank and say, and then at that point you need to identify yourself because they don't know who you are. You can give out your account number when you know you're talking to a banker. I would still only give them the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. There's no reason for them to know that stuff. There's no reason for your Social Security number to be asked for a lot of things. You know, why is my Social Security number on my vet's bill for my dog? I have no idea. What happens to that document? Is it thrown in the trash? Is my stuff being compromised because my vet threw a bill away? Likewise with the credit card company. Your card's been compromised, right? What's your card number so we know who you are? Hang up and call them, look up the 800 number in the back of your card and call them back so you know who you're talking to. Because the bank and the credit card companies know what your card number is, know what your account number is. You don't need to give it to them.
There are some banks, they generally, if you charge it and they got suspicious, they call you right back. Say, so and so been charged. This is your account or your charge.
That's a good service. Not everybody does that.
There are some bank, I have that my account. Somebody charged me from California. They called me right away that somebody is charging this much. Are you charging it?
Right. That's a good company, but they're also looking at, hey, you're in Boston, why is this being charged in California? You know, and if you're legitimately in California and you can identify yourself, then the charge can go through. But then again, do you want to be in California or wherever and have your credit card denied because now the credit card company doesn't know you're there? That's why it's good to call before you go, and especially when you come back. A lot of times on cell phones, if you buy applications or whatever on your cell phones, you'll start seeing on your cell phone bill this ridiculous charge for 99 cents or 49 cents. And what I'm told is if you buy one app, you're almost authorized in some other service to charge you. It actually happened to me. I called up and said, what is this, 49 cents a month? It was like the last 6 months, 49 cents for some service. And they said, oh, when you got this app, you had to have agreed to that. And if you're not paying attention, sometimes they'll put stuff into an offer that you're not paying attention to, and now you just authorized this 49 cents. Well, think about 49 cents times 1 million people who fell for it. You know, and if you look at 49 cents, that's not a big deal, but it really is a big deal after a while.
I have a question concerning the Social Security number, and that's really through part of your Medicaid number and so forth, and all your medical records are tied into that. So how do you deal with something like that?
I don't know why they don't just issue a random number, just like the registry does now with the S number. Why it has to be, why the Social Security number became a national identification number. Because it opens up everybody. And why Medicaid does it, I don't have a reason, I don't have an explanation, and I don't know why they don't discontinue it. And why you just can't be established, you know, the doctor's office puts an account number on your medical record, they have their own number. Why does it have to be cross-referenced with your Social Security number? Once you've initially identified yourself with your Blue Cross card, your Blue Cross card, say, doesn't have your Social Security number, it has an account number on it. Why do you have to tie the two together? Why are you opening up something? So if someone took my medical records and all they saw was my Blue Cross number, they couldn't really get that far with it. But by putting my Social Security number in the same record, now they've opened up me to fraud. There's a law in Massachusetts now that if you maintain those type of records, if you maintain someone's date of birth, Social Security number, address, phone number, you have a duty to protect it. Because I have all that information in my office, I have to lock my desk, lock my file cabinets, lock my office, alarm my office. My computer has to have levels of security on it. Because if someone breaks in and steals your information that I'm holding, you can sue me if you know that's where it came from. So I don't want that to happen. But, you know, health clubs, doctors' offices, veterinarians, lawyers' offices, any place that has your records, banks, they have a duty right now to protect that information. So, all right? Okay.
So nice. Okay, the first thing I want to mention is that this has probably been one of the most comprehensive, yet simple, straightforward to understand talks on identity theft and various types of fraud that I've ever heard. An excellent job, and I really mean it. I'm not just saying that to be nice. And the important thing is it's been recorded so that if you didn't get all of it, or if you got friends, obviously there's a lot of people who aren't here, they really need to watch this one. This one was just outstanding. One of the reasons is because, with the exception of someone being recruited for an FBI agent and being relocated to the Midwest, every single fraud or identity theft that you mentioned has happened here in Medfield, and people have been victims of it, and they not just got the call, they paid the money. We had 2 years ago, the person, your son's been involved in a car crash. We're holding him here in the house. They've got people in the background yelling, screaming, like someone's being beaten up. You better send the money, or this is going to be the last beating this kid's ever going to get. Now, the boy was working over at Patriot Place at the restaurant where he's supposed to be. But the mother didn't know that. She kept the person on the cell phone, drove over to Stop and Shop, got a wire, sent like 2 payments of $800 apiece to these people, okay? So this stuff happens. The NSTAR thing, most every business in town has gotten that. We're going to shut your power off at 3 o'clock if you don't pay up now. That's everybody. You know, the various everything you mentioned. It's all happened here in our happy little zip code, which is a wonderful place to live, and the zip code's a nice zip code, but they could care less. You're in a phone book, and they're just running through names and numbers and seeing what they can do. So if you didn't pick up on all of it, watch it again when it comes out on cable. I'd encourage anyone to watch this particular presentation, because it was outstanding. It was very simple, straightforward. I understood it, and a lot of this stuff I sometimes don't get. So thanks very much. It's just one of the best jobs I've seen. But all of these things absolutely positively happen. They happen here in Medfield, every single one he mentioned. We can, you know, Sergeant Burton's standing back there probably rolling his eyes going, yep, remember that, yep, remember that, yep, I remember that. Every single one has happened here. So you're all, us, myself included, we're all potential victims, and this is easy stuff. You don't have to go to somebody's house and kick their back door down, make a lot of noise, and run the risk of getting caught. You can sit in another country somewhere, in another part of the United States, and just sit, type away, and do this. Very, very simple to do. So, you know, thanks very much. Excellent job. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Chief. Well, we're going to close up this edition of the TRIAD meeting. Again, TRIAD is seniors, law enforcement working together to protect you folks out there. And that's what we're all about. We work together here with Roberta, Chief Meany, Sheriff Bellotti, to keep you folks informed and hopefully away from being scammed or victimized by the criminals out there. So with that, I'll see you next meeting. Thank you. Bye.
Production support provided by Medfield.TV. Access to our community.